2 days ago, my exhaust fell off. I literally just merged onto the highway and boom, I just heard something dragging behind my car and I knew something was wrong. And honestly, I sat there and I thought, like, this is a job I have to do today. Like, I didn't spiral, I didn't panic. I was just like, all right, like, let's figure this out. What am I going to do? And I want to talk about why this was my reaction. Because I think that reaction, like that specific amount of calmness, is the thing that nobody tells you when they talk about owning a car outright. Like, a lot of people talk about the money, like they'll show you the math, they'll tell you how great things feel to not have a car payment, and to a sense, like, all of that is real, but the actual feeling, like the day-to-day version of this life, like that's what I want to get into today. It's genuinely good, and I think a lot of people are closer to that than they realize. So let me start with the thing that most people don't typically say out loud. Like, when you're in a car payment, there's this low level of anxiety that just lives in the background, and it's not always loud, like it's not always something in the front of your mind, but it's there. Because in reality, every month that number comes out and you feel it, and underneath that, there's this other thing. Like, there's this awareness that you're paying for something that you don't fully own. You're putting money into it every single month, but at the end of it, and a lot of the times the math doesn't work in your favor, and most people notice. Like, most people that are in that situation feel it. They just don't know what to do about it, or they'll typically tell themselves that a payment is just a part of life, and that's just how it works. And a lot, if not everybody, does this. But just stay with me. Like, I'm not here to tell you that a car payment makes you a bad person or a bad decision maker. Like, that's not the point. The point of this video is that there's another version of this, and it feels meaningfully different in your actual daily life, like not just on paper. And guys, if you're new here, welcome to Zigiwik, where we do these POVs every other, well, at this point, I don't even know what type of day we doing this, guys, but we do these videos talking about life, cars, and just the reality of money. And today we're gonna dive right into this video because here's an analogy that keeps coming back to me every time I think about this. You know, I think about the difference between renting an apartment and owning a house. And when you're renting, when something breaks, like, you call the landlord. You know, the heat goes out, the pipe goes out, whatever it is, like, it's not really your problem. That's the whole point of paying rent every month. You know, somebody else handles it. And there comes some comfort in that. But you're also writing a check every single month, no matter what. You know, you're billing nothing, the walls aren't yours, the equity in the house isn't yours. You know, one day the landlord can wake up and decide to raise the rent or not renew your lease, and there's nothing you can really do about it. But when you own a house, you know, when things break, that's gonna be your problem now. You know, when the roof leaks, that's your project. The plumbing goes out, you have to be the one to make the phone calls to find somebody to come fix it. You know, you're spending the money and you have to do all this because nobody is gonna save you. But the trade-off is that that house is yours. You know, you can do whatever you want with it. You can paint it whatever color you want. Nobody is going to raise your mortgage payment because they feel like it. And the best part is every dollar you put into it, you're putting it into something that you own outright. This is kind of similar to owning a car outright. When my exhaust fell off, like, that was my repair. Like, that was my time, that was my money. And I also don't have a payment, you know, and those things exist together. That's the deal, honestly. You gotta take responsibility of ownership. And in exchange for that, you're free from the system that most people around you are stuck in. I think about it now as, you know, I'm a homeowner, like, I'm not a renter. And you have to have that mindset, and that mindset is gonna be different. You know, when a homeowner's pipes burst, they don't think about going back to renting. They just fix the pipes, you know, because you understand what you own, and you also understand why it's worth it to just fix it and not give it up. So let me tell you what actually changes when the car payment is gone. You know, not the spreadsheet version. Let me tell you the real day-to-day life. And the first thing is that breathing room, you know, and this is going to be obvious. Like, I know I mentioned this in my last video also, but that is the first thing. Because when you're not sending $500 a month to a finance company and that money is yours, you get to decide what it does. You know, maybe it goes into savings, or maybe it just kills another bill that you have. Maybe it just means that you're not going to be as tight on money at the end of the month, but that $500 a month is going to come out to $6,000 a year. And if you take that money over 5 years, that's $30,000 that you either sent to a bank or kept for yourself. You know, for a lot of people, that math is going to be uncomfortable. Second thing is that the relationship with your car is going to change. It's something that you can't really fight. And this one's kind of low-key surprised me a little bit, because when you own a car outright, you stop dreading it and you start knowing it. You have to know the car because this is your car. You start paying attention to it differently. You know, you notice the sounds, you stay on top of your maintenance, you actually care about what's going on under the hood. And you do this not necessarily because you're a car person, but you do it because it's yours and you know it's worth taking care of. And that's a completely different energy than driving a finance car and just hoping nothing breaks before the warranty runs out. And the third thing is you're gonna stop making decisions out of fear. You know, when you're in a car payment, a lot of the decisions you make are driven by anxiety. You know, when something feels off, you avoid thinking about it because you don't want another bill to pop out of nowhere on top of your payment. That is the worst situation to be in. Or you just keep the car longer than you should because you're upside down and you can't afford to get out. Fear-based decisions about cars cost more money than about anything else, guys. And when you own a car outright, you can actually make clear decisions. You know what something costs, you weigh it into your finances, and you decide. You know, there's not going to be no background fear that's going to distort your thought process. And then the fourth thing is, and honestly this is going to be a little harder to explain, is just that identity that comes along with it. There's something about owning a car that you drive every single day that is going to feel different. You know, this is your car. You're not borrowing it, you're not renting it. Like, this is yours. You own it outright. And I know that sounds small, I know this sounds like the obvious, but it changes everything. It changes how you carry yourself. And the reason it does this is because you made a decision and you're committed to something. And here's the part that I want to be honest and real to you about. I know I speak a lot of good things about owning a car outright and not signing up for financing, but honestly, a paid off car is not going to be a stress-free car, and a lot of people get this confused. And I want to be clear about it because I think a lot of people hear no payment and they just imagine life just gets easy, and in a lot of cases it does not work like that. You know, think about my exhaust that fell off. I spent 2 days dealing with it. I wasn't really able to record content because the car sounded like crap, so I couldn't record with it, and it wasn't fun. There will be other things that come up down the road that I'll have to fix because I have an older car, and older cars have older parts, and older parts are gonna have a way to make themselves known. They're gonna let you know that they're old and they need to be replaced. And honestly, this is just the agreement you have to make when you get a car outright. You know, there's no warranty, there's no dealers to go back to when something happens. You have to be the person that gets stuff done. And you know, when I was doing my exhaust, I was a little bit annoyed. And things always happen at the worst time possible. Like, your exhaust is not gonna fall out when you're just leaving your driveway. No, it's gonna fall off as soon as you merge onto the highway. That's exactly what happened to me. And I was annoyed, but I wasn't scared. That's the thing. Like, I wasn't thinking about how I was gonna afford to fix that on top of a car payment. You know, I wasn't calculating whether it's cheaper to just trade in a car or start over and get a new payment cycle. And that's what I mean by when I say the responsibility feels different when it's yours. Because the truth is, a renter who has a pipe burst, you might feel a little helpless because it's not your house and you have no control over that situation. But a homeowner who has a pipe burst, you're gonna be annoyed, but they know what to do and they will handle it because that's your house. And that's where I'm at with this car. You know, I know this car, I know what comes up, and at the end of the day, there's no monthly payment, and I've grown to the point where I am just one with this machine, guys. And the thing nobody talks about is what this does for you financially over a long stretch of time. And I know a lot of people in their 20s and 30s spend their entire adult life in a car payment cycle. Can you believe that? Like, they'll finance something, they'll drive for 3 to 4 years, and then they'll trade it in while they still owe money on it. They'll roll that debt over into a next loan, and then they'll start over. And a lot of these people do this their entire lives, and they'll never own a car once. They'll never once own the car that they're driving. They're always just renting a car. To an extent, I understand why this happens because, you know, a payment is predictable. A lot of people just want that stability in their life, and that new car feels clean and reliable. And a part of it is dealers making it easy. They want people to be in these long-term contracts. That's more profitable for them. The monthly number feels manageable, even if the total number is a little wild, because you're not looking at that. You're looking at the money you're paying every month. And that is how the system is designed. And guess what? That system is designed to keep you in it. That's exactly what they want, guys. Getting out of the system and actually breaking the cycle is, in a lot of cases, one of the best financial moves you can make in your 20s and 30s. And it's not because you have a repair bill, but because you're gonna stop hemorrhaging money on interest and depreciation and monthly obligations that don't build anything for you. You're actually gonna start to own something and have to start making decisions from a different place, not from a place of being a renter or a dependent. You're gonna be making decisions from an ownership standpoint, guys. And I mean, look at me. My car has over 200,000 miles on it, and my exhaust really rusted and fell off 2 days ago. But it's fixed now because you have to get stuff done. And I don't have a car payment this month. I won't have one next month, and that is the beauty about it. You know, you talk about all the money you save every single month not having a car payment. You know, and you save because when things like this happen out of the blue, the little $50 it took me to buy the clamps and fix the exhaust is nothing compared to the hundreds of dollars every month I save by not having a car payment, guys. So if you're in a car payment right now and you actually want to know the steps to get out of it, I already made a full video covering that. It's on my channel. Go check it out, guys. But this video is more the practical side of it. You know, this one is more of what's waiting for you on the other side once you get out of your car payment. So y'all, if you made it this far, thank you for tapping into Zigiwik. You already know I love and appreciate every single one of y'all, man. Make sure y'all buy TSX and travel and make smart decisions in 2026, y'all. Don't be out here signing up for whatever deal you see, whatever seems right. Sign up for a deal that makes sense for your situation. And make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know down below what y'all thought about this video. And if you just got out of a deal, let me know down below what type of car you had and what type of year payments you had. Let me know down below what y'all experiences if you're somebody that had a finance car, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and catch y'all next one, guys. Peace.